All About Writing with Ben and Sarah.
Welcome to All About Writing, the podcast that covers everything about the world of writing from the inside out. This is episode 44, part 6, on our series on marketing. I'm Ben, here with my co-host Sarah, who is an award-winning, best-selling author, screenwriter, editor, and TED Talk presenter.
And I'm Sarah, here with my co-host Ben, who is an award-winning best-selling author and ghostwriter, editor, and publisher. And we have once again brought in our lovely friend Valerie Beal. And Val, if you want to just give a little introduction to yourself, what your background is, both as an author and as a marketer, that'd be awesome.
I came to writing full-time with a background in public relations and marketing. So then I started to, I joke about using my powers for good, helping other authors with their marketing. You have to understand that I used to work in politics. So it's actually not funny, maybe. I say that I'm using my powers for good now because I'm not doing politics anymore.
I did not know you were in politics. I know your husband is works in politics too, but I did not realize that was your background as well. That's crazy.
Yeah. And I'm so much happier over here in the writing world. These are my people. I am with my people now. This is good. So I came to my, like switching gears to writing fiction full time, and then realized that the skill set I had gained prior to that, my publicity, public relations and marketing skill set, really worked well to, helping authors. I both, for myself, and then I realized at conferences and stuff that people really were kind of lost as to where to go. And then there's a lot of bad actors in this space that are often, gouging people and promising things that really aren't logical to deliver. And it's hard to know. It's hard to decipher who to trust and who not to trust. Doesn't matter what occupation, I guess it really is. So that's me. And I like it here. This is a good space. And thanks for having me. This is fun.
Yeah. So thanks for coming back again. And I know last time we talked about reviews, and this time we are hoping to dive into author websites. So, which to me is both, it's intimidating because it's websites and obviously, do you have to do all kinds of programming? Are there ways to do it easier? And so I'd love for you to tell us, what is a bare minimum need for an author's website? What should we expect to see on an author's website and have out there for people?
I think it depends on where you are in your author journey. I think all folks who are writing professionally probably should have an author website. You may not have a lot of content if you're not published yet, and that's fine. But look at it like your business card. So I've been at conferences where people are like, oh, do I really need one? And I'm like, yeah, you should have one because you control the content there. And however you want to present yourself to the world as a writer, this is your chance. Usually I see these being maybe 3 pages long, a contact page, a home page. And then if you have, like a biography or an about page or a book page, depends on, really how much content you might have. That homepage can look a little sparse. If you, don't have a lot going on, you can always use that as your about page, like with your author photo and a bio on it. So I think usually 3 pages, but it's a way to show where you are on social media, like how to find you, also how to contact you. So, then there's usually a contact form on that, contact page, like an email contact form. Tends to work out pretty well too if you are maybe trying to go the traditional route and you want to look professional to agents and editors that you're querying. They pop in a website, address, your domain, and they're going, oh, okay, gotcha. This person is presenting themselves well. It just helps them know that you're likely to be very professional in your working world or your relationship with them. So
that's a good point. Yeah, for sure. Can you let people know, if you know off the top of your head, I don't know if maybe this is too but is there like a general cost, people, in terms of money? Like, how much does this usually cost for somebody, especially if they've never done a website before for a business or anything like that? Like, what are they looking to put into this for pricing? Is it a yearly
Right.
fee or, monthly fee? Like, what are they investing? Because it is an investment in their business.
Oh, of course, of course. So you need your domain name, right? So I often coach people that they should acquire the domain name with their author name as quickly as possible. And I usually tell people they should use their author name versus like a series name. There are exceptions to this. Like if you write in a lot of different series that are very, very different from each other, you may not want to put all your writing under one, domain name. But the domain name registration can be, $25 a year, right? About that. And then you can build a website for a fairly reasonable price. Like it's mainly the hosting on a site, say like Wix or something, where it's kind of like drag and drop, and it's pretty easy for the average person to manage to create a fairly decent looking website for just mainly the hosting fees each year. But then if you want help and you want someone to build you something that has a little bit, a few more bells and whistles, shall we say, then you might be looking for some help building a WordPress site, and that can cost you a little bit more. I see places charging upward to $5,000 or $6,000 or $7,000. You do not need to spend that much money. I do help other authors build their websites, and really even the most complicated website with many pages, like events and calendar pages and speaking engagement information, on top of those basic pages. They're usually maxing out around $1,000 to $1,200, and that's just mainly on how many hours it takes to build it.
That's a very reasonable price. I actually have discovered, they're not paying us to say these things, but I discovered a company, so Show It, like
Mhm.
Show It, is a hosting site, but then they work very closely with Tonic, like gin and tonic. And the Tonic, for like, you can spend anywhere from $800 to maybe $1,500 for a design that is a one-time cost, and then you have this drag and drop type of experience. And I've been really impressed with the finished product from that as well. So I think there is just sometimes just fishing around to make sure it's something that you feel comfortable both using and is in your price point.
Right. Right. And I think it gets a little confusing for people who maybe aren't very techy, right? So like your domain name is that's your address out on the internet. That's how people find you. It's the .com, type thing. And then when we talk about these places like WordPress or whatever, that's how like it's built. It's the way you're going about building it. So there's so many options out there, and the hosting is you got to have a place to live. So that's sort of like paying your rent, if that makes sense, to be on the internet. If your domain name's your address, you got to pay rent somewhere.
That's a really good way of putting it. Because I always used to think you just need your URL, but no, you need hosting for your website
Yes.
too. So it is two separate costs, yearly costs usually, or monthly costs.
Right.
Once that is separate from the actual design work for the website as well.
Right. And there's so many pretty websites out there. I love going through and going, oh, look what this person did. How'd they do that? And then I get like jealous and I want to change my website.
Oh, that's true.
I know.
Now, I would think that when people are first starting out, like you said, they want to keep the website pretty simple. Like the basic information. Maybe a splash page or a title page, the author page, a contact page, and then if there's a book, then the book page. As someone starts to publish more or starts to grow, what are some of the other common things that people will want to add to their website?
That's a very good question. So event pages, like calendar pages, like where am I going to be or how to book me for an event. I mean, the book page, of course. I have one on my website that's frequently asked questions. Just so in addition to like my biography page, I also have a media page. So this is when I've been, on TV or on radio or in a newspaper. I've got the clips or the links to those interviews available. What else do I have? I have like the speaking engagement page, but I have like sort of a split there. I've got like school visit information too, because I write in the children's market. And then because I also help authors, then I have sort of like two personalities online, but I try to combine them so that it's easier to find me. So then I have sort of the work with me side of things. Like if I'm going to help edit someone's work or, help them with ads or something. So then I have a tab for that. I don't know. What else do you have, Sarah, on yours?
I mean, because I live in both fiction and nonfiction, I
Mhm.
do have separate places where those live. And then I also I do connect to be the cookware to the copper stuff,
Right.
and previous media work, as seen on, or where I've written for other things before if they're relevant. Um, I used to have a conference page, where I'm going to be, but COVID, I kind of pulled that away because I realized I wasn't going anywhere. So I had not put that back up since. And then I also have, where it's just the work itself. So because I have so many books, people can view the covers as well as click directly through and purchase them straight. It's usually, I think it's just an Amazon link, but it's just a quick for if they're like, that looks good, click, and a lot more about the books themselves too, not just, hey, here's the cover, but usually like a little description of what it's about.
I think you
Yeah.
have, I don't think I was looking on my other monitor here. You don't have reviews. Do you have any reviews on your site?
I think I have a couple kind of tucked around depending on where they are. Yeah. Yeah.
And then, I mean, the purchase links are really nice to have. I started to use something called the Universal Book Link. And then, so I only have two buttons on each of my book pages. I have one that goes to my sign book store, like, Square, where you can, then check out there. And then I know I need to mail you a signed book. But then I also just have this Universal Book link. You can find that through draft to digital. So that's draft, the number two, digital.com. You don't have to use that service to then have access to their like sub website, which is books to number two, read.com. And then you can create this really nice landing page that has every single sales channel for every format of your book in one spot, because otherwise it's easy to junk up your book page with so many different, like you want to offer everything, like maybe you're coming to me from a different country, you want to have all the different bookstore options on there. But I kind of like that. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, I know the other thing I like to do, because I write for YA, I do playlists of music that go along with each of my books. So I have like a Spotify link, like I create a little graphic with all the songs, and then they link over to that. I don't know. It's totally unnecessary. I don't even know if anyone clicks it.
I was just gonna say I was gonna say music. I saw one other writer I know who's done musical links. And I don't know, Ben, if that's, with your space and pirates and military, if there's musical links, but there is for a lot of fiction.
There
Should
should
be.
be. Ben, there should be.
Well, and one other thing that I have on my website is the blog, because
Yes.
I blog regularly, and so that is a nice way to keep content fresh. Because most of the content on the website is static, right? It's the information
Oh,
about
yeah.
me, about the books. It doesn't change,
Mhm.
but the blog means that there's new content going onto the website all the time, and that can help with rankings if I'm not mistaken, Val.
You are entirely correct. And that makes me wonder if I made a mistake with something, but I'll tell you something slightly controversial that I did. This is what happens when you have kids who are in their 20s and they're like, why are you doing that? And you go, I don't know why. Let's think about this. So I'm redoing my website this year and I have a blog page, but I also started to use Substack. So I was double posting my content. I would post it on my website, post it over on Substack. I don't know. Was I nervous Substack was going to disappear or something? I don't know why I was double posting it. And then I came across another author, Victoria Aveyard. I'm not sure I'm saying it right. She's famous. I should know how to say her name. Sorry, Victoria. Anyway, the blog tab on her website takes you straight to Substack. And my Substack is awesome in the sense that you can see things so much easier. Now, could I design a blog page on my website that looks like Substack where you can see things in that format? Sure, sure. But then I'm doing things twice again. And it's all about like, let's make things as easy as possible. We have enough stuff to do as authors, right? So, slightly maybe controversial thing that when you click on that, I'm sending you off my website over to Substack. So, but it's also more valuable in a way for to have people visiting Substack. But that's definitely right, though. If you have, how often do you put a new book on your site or change your bio or add something new? If you're not doing that, then it should the what we've been taught is that Google, the Google gods, whatever, re-index things when there's new stuff, and that should give you a higher ranking on the internet, and meaning visibility in terms of where you land when people type in things that would be keywords that should bring your site up to them in their search. Does that make sense? I said that right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, for sure. But and I do think too that's another reason why you do grab your name as the URL as close as possible, just because if someone's Googling you, that website should be within the top like 2-3 things that pops up for someone.
Yes. And let's really hope that you don't have another author out there who is similarly named, that you're like, and that you don't write the same thing, so you're not competing with each other. I do have a funny story though. So I write under Valerie Beal, which is my maiden name, also the first like 2/3 of my name now. I dropped like my regular middle name when I got married. So my legal last name is Johnson. And I started to put my books out with Valerie Beal. I mean, how many, like, it's like Smith or Brown or what, I mean, right? Like, of course I'm not going to use Johnson if I can use another name. And my mom was so concerned. She wanted to know if everything was okay in my marriage, that I wasn't using my married name. So, I mean, I do wish everyone the best of luck to not have some sort of competitor out there when they go to buy their domain name. Ugh, that's the worst.
Yeah, or having to compete, I mean, if your name is Robert Peterson and they put in, Robert Pattinson, or Patterson is gonna like probably still win on that, even with a misspelling, because they're gonna be like, didn't you mean the famous one?
They try to help you too much. They're like, no, that's not what I meant. So, and the one thing I should mention too, as you build a website, and you don't need to do this immediately, but you're probably going to want to put a way to capture emails, subscribers, as you move along in your author career. And it's important because, and as we know, with the recent shenanigans with TikTok and such, you do not own access to your followers or whatever on these social media platforms. So this is one way to always know that you have access to the people who want your content, if you can get them to sign up to an email list. And that would be the people who maybe get your blog sent out to them via email, or you do a little newsletter. So, but it's definitely something to consider, mainly just because we can't count on social media to do, to protect us.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm really glad
So
you made
crazy.
that point, Val, because
Yeah.
I've seen it happen where someone relies on one of the social media for all of their promotion, and then something happens and they get blocked, they get banned,
Mm-hmm.
and there's no arguing it, there's no
Yep.
requesting that it be changed. It's done, and you are gone. Your website is something that you own as the author. You control it. You control the message, and it's always yours. Social media can be great to reach out, but I was always taught that your social media in general should always point people back towards the website,
Mm-hmm.
because that's the center of your marketing. That's the linchpin of your marketing campaign.
Right. Always. And especially if, I mean, it depends on what you write, but if, for instance, if you write nonfiction, you may make more on speaking engagements than you make on the books. So like, where is that spot where people can see where you are next, or to book you for their event or conference or whatever? So it becomes a really integral part to your business. I mean, I don't know how I'd function without it. So I think you might as well jump in and get the basics started as early as possible, so that you're also not doing this at the same time as you're like launching. Just because cross that one off your list when you're editing or something, like, 6 months before or whatever. There's too many things on the to-do list.
Yeah.
That's a really good point to kind of, wrap this up too, not only is it's part of your branding, it's part of your marketing, but it is something you can do way in advance. You can even, like we talked about reviewers in a previous, episode of the podcast, like you can send your potential reviewers to your website so they see you're a real author, especially if you're debut and you don't have a presence on Amazon yet or any of the other book sites. So it's a nice thing to kind of put at the top of your to-do list. If you're like, I'm going to be a writer, great, get a website.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, we could talk about this all day,
We really
but so Val, if anyone has any questions, where can they find you?
You can find me on my website at valeriebeal.com.
Awesome. I think as we go through this, you will see a certain similarity in all of our websites, but we'll wait. That's our show for today, everyone. So please don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of our chats, and do please feel free to leave a review because it really does help us a lot. If anyone is looking for help with marketing, contact Valerie Beal at valeriebeal.com. But also think about our good friends at Cascadia Author Services. They can help you with any aspect of your writing, from concept to editing to design, and they're great. You can find them at cascadiaauthorservices.com. And you can catch up with Sarah at sarahdaman.com and on Instagram.
And you can find Ben at bennettrcoles.com, as well as Facebook and Instagram. I love how we're practicing what we preach today. Thank you for joining us. Please reach out if there are any topics you'd like us to cover in depth, and we'll see you again when we next chat all about writing.
This has been All About Writing with Ben and Sarah.